The light she refused to let die. Every night at exactly 8:30 p.m., a small girl sat beneath the old streetlight at the corner of Maple Street. Her name was Ayla. The streetlight flickered sometimes. The paint on its pole was chipped. The cement beneath it was cracked and cold. But to Ayla, it was more than just a light. It was her classroom. Her house, just a few steps away, had no electricity. Bills had piled up after her father passed away. Her mother worked day and night stitching clothes for neighbors, her eyes red from exhaustion. Some nights, Ayla pretended she wasn't hungry so her mother could eat a little more. But Ayla had something stronger than hunger. She had a dream. She wanted to become a teacher. Not in a big city school, not for a big salary. She wanted to teach children who felt invisible, the ones who sat in the back of classrooms, the ones who thought they weren't smart enough, the ones who gave up too early. Because once she had almost given up too. At school, her uniform was old, her shoes were worn out. Some classmates laughed, some teachers barely noticed her. But one teacher did. Mrs. Kareem once told her, "Ayla, your situation is temporary. Your effort is permanent." Those words stayed with her. So every evening, after helping her mother, Ayla carried her old books and notebook and sat under that streetlight. Cars passed, people stared. Some whispered, "Why doesn't she study inside?" No one knew the truth. Winter came early that year. The air turned sharp and cruel. Her fingers would go numb as she held her pencil. Sometimes the wind blew her pages away, and she would run after them, clutching her dreams before they could escape. One night, as she solved math problems under the dim light, a car slowed down nearby. A middle-aged man stepped out. He had seen her many nights before. "Why do you study here?" he asked gently. Ayla looked up. Her eyes were tired, but they were not defeated. "Because my future is brighter than my present," she said quietly. The man stood there for a moment, then nodded and left. The next evening, something unusual happened. When Ayla returned home, her house was glowing. Light poured out of the small window. Her heart raced. She pushed the door open. Inside, a small bulb hung from the ceiling, shining warmly. On the table sat a wooden desk, a lamp, and a stack of new books. Her mother stood there, crying softly. A letter rested on the desk. "Never stop chasing the light. A friend." The man had paid their electricity bill. He had arranged for basic repairs. He had left without asking for thanks. That night, Ayla did not study under the streetlight, but before going inside, she touched its cold metal pole and whispered, "Thank you." Years passed. Ayla studied harder than ever. She earned scholarships. She worked part-time. She refused to let struggle define her. And one day, she stood in front of a classroom, not as a student, but as Miss Ayla. Her classroom was not fancy. The walls were simple. The desks were old. But every child in that room felt seen. Whenever she noticed a quiet child staring at the floor, she remembered herself. Whenever a student said, "I can't do this," she smiled and said, "Your situation is temporary. Your effort is permanent." And in the corner of her classroom, on a small shelf near her desk, sat a tiny decorative streetlight lamp. One day, a student asked, "Miss, why do you keep that little light?" Ayla looked at it and smiled softly. "Because once," she said, "a small light helped me believe in a big future." Sometimes success doesn't begin in comfort. Sometimes it begins in cold nights, empty stomachs, and silent determination. Sometimes it begins under a streetlight. And sometimes the girl sitting in the dark becomes the light for others.